The death of Ra was the beginning of the end for the Goa'uld Empire. The Empire always had infighting among the System Lords, but as the Supreme System Lord, Ra was a stabilizing influence for the Goa'uld. But Ra's sudden death was one of the biggest changes in their recent history, one that would lead to an empire that had lasted thousands of years to collapse within a decade. Hello everyone and welcome to another Stargate lore video, and in this video I'm going to look at what the reaction to Ra's death was from the various System Lords. Do note, I will not cover every System Lord, simply because in some cases I couldn't find any lore if they had a specific reaction, and we can probably assume if they did, it would have been similar to another System Lord I will cover. I will also cover a few Goa'uld who were not System Lords, since I found a few who had unique reactions. Finally, I will of course pull what information I can from the shows, but I will also pull information from the Living Gods RPG and the Wyvern Gaming RPG, though I will try and make clear what I am pulling from what when I say it. We'll start with Apophis. Interestingly enough, people have been commenting that they believed Apophis was a minor System Lord who either rose up after Ra's death or sometime before it. I can't remember if the show ever makes a statement like this, but the Living Gods RPG does support this. In Living Gods, Apophis was a minor System Lord. Despite being minor, he had grand aspirations. He was incredibly jealous of Ra's power and had come up with various plans to take his brother's dominion. Several of the plans seemed viable, but none were foolproof enough that Apophis dared to risk it. He settled on honing his warriors and doing other small things to grow his power, waiting for a chance to strike. Due to this, he kept close tabs on Ra's activities and was the first to learn of his death. He launched a series of raids, taking control of many worlds, along with a large portion of Ra's fleet. This catapulted him into a more major System Lord status, with aspirations to become the next Supreme System Lord. A similar goal for our next System Lord, Kronos. Unlike Apophis, he was a major System Lord. In fact, it's possible he was the second most powerful next to Ra, which might explain why the two didn't get along. In Living Gods, Kronos was kicked off of Earth by Zeus, and Ra forbade Kronos from returning. Ra would later make decrees that held Kronos in check. We're not told why he did this. Perhaps Ra saw Kronos' growing influence and power as a threat. Kronos himself had aspirations to usurp Ra and rule over the Goa'uld. As such, when Ra died, he was one of the first to exploit the chaos. I'm sure he did this through expanding his own territory, but he was also trying to gain more influence over his peers. For example, he came to an uneasy truce with Yu, though only after a failed invasion. Baal's up next, and his history is slightly different from the last two. Unlike Kronos and Apophis, Baal was not antagonistic towards Ra at first. In both RPGs, Baal got his start as an underlord to Ra and was one of his best. However, things changed when the Tari Rebellion happened. This lore is specific to Living Gods, but Baal fled the planet long before Ra did. He didn't do this out of cowardice, but because he saw they were going to lose. Perhaps because of his presumption, or perhaps because he was right, Ra cast him out of his court. And since then, the two have had a mutual hatred for each other. Occasionally warring between each other, at some point there was a three-way conflict between Ra, Baal, and Sokar, with shifting alliances and non-aggression deals. Eventually, the two agreed upon a ceasefire that confined their conflict to covert raids and political gambits against one another. But when Ra died, Baal seized much of Ra's dominion, even before Apophis could step in. While Baal had gained the title of System Lord since being thrown from Ra's court, it was these gains he had made from Ra's former holdings that moved him into a preeminent position amongst the other System Lords. Okay, so the last three System Lords had similar reactions. They all had beef with Ra and took advantage of his death to grow their own power. Was there any System Lord who suffered or was sad that Ra had died? Well, I doubt anyone was sad that Ra died, but there were those who suffered. Case in point, Bastet, who is a bit of an interesting case. We don't get a lot of lore about her in the show. The RPGs do give her backstory, but there is a conflict between the old and new RPGs. Now, I've stated in the past that it seems like the makers of the new RPG read the older ones and incorporated much of that lore into the new book, or they expanded on what the older book said. However, there are differences here and there. In this case, both say Bastet was a loyal servant of Ra, perhaps more loyal in the new book, since in Living God she eventually broke away from Ra and declared herself a System Lord. The big difference between the two is her alliance with Kali. In Living Gods, the alliance was formed when Sokar first rose to power during ancient times. Sokar invaded and seized much of her territory, so she turned to Kali for aid, who helped drive Sokar out. However, in the new RPG, the alliance with Kali was a more recent development, one sparked by Ra's death. Without the Supreme System Lord's protection, Bastet found her enemies had become more bold. With a loss of territory and one rival attempting to make her his queen, she turned to Kali for aid, who she met earlier in her life when they were both younger Goa'uld. Since I brought up Kali a few times, let's talk about her as well. Thankfully, her lore in the two books is pretty close. Kali was originally an Ashtrak, a Goa'uld assassin, to Shiva. While not a system lord, he did rule over part of Earth for a time, but refused to take a human host, preferring an Unis one, which made some humans believe he was a demon and not a god. Kali feared this would lead to distrust with the humans, as did Ra, who ordered Shiva to take a human form, but he refused. Ra then offered Kali a deal: kill her master. While she was hesitant, Ra sweetened the deal by offering her Shiva's territory. She agreed and killed Shiva, but was not happy to have to rule in Ra's name. She would later break away and form her own empire among the stars, and while Ra was not happy about this, he was busy with other matters at the time. By the time he got around to solidifying the chaos the empire was going through, he concluded that reclaiming the territory Kali had taken from him would be too hard, so he offered her independence under dictated terms. Not in a position to take Ra on, and fearful of his wrath, she agreed, but again wasn't happy about it. She focused on her neighbors who were closer to her own power level, taking out some who were minor enemies of Ra, which gained his approval. Later on in the Empire's history, she would defer to Ra's wishes during council meetings. And if we go by Living Gods, she would have had her alliance with Bastet, which resulted in both becoming major system lords. However, problems started to rise when Ra died. Kali, like so many others, scrambled to fill the power vacuum that was created. Unlike others who grew in power at this time, she found herself under attack on two fronts. The first was from Apophis, who felt the worlds Ra had given her millennia ago were now his. The second being Baal, who was just taking an opportunity to attack less powerful system lords. She sued for peace with Baal so she could focus on Apophis. She fought him for several years until his death at the hands of the Tari. She was able to reclaim her lost territory, but her forces were weakened. So with these two, we have system lords who had okay-ish relations with Ra, but when he died, they found themselves without either his protection or the stabilizing influence that kept the larger dominions from attacking smaller ones. I doubt this means they were saddened by his death, but they were not happy with the outcome. However, not everyone who was an ally of Ra suffered in his absence, his son Heru-ur being a good example. Side note, the Living Gods RPG tries to establish that Heru-ur is not Ra's biological son. He was a son of Hathor, and Ra gifted him his host. It seems kind of an odd thing to try and establish. Anyway, Heru-ur started out being used as an underlord by Ra, but Ra eventually elevated him to the status of System Lord, gifting him a sizable fleet and control over much of his own dominion. However, Heru-ur used the position and power from being one of Ra's closest allies to build up his own resources. While the two would occasionally clash in battle, for the most part they were relatively solid allies. Because his base of power was so strong, when Ra died and fighting broke out between the System Lords, he was fine, having one of the most powerful fleets in the galaxy. That being said, this didn't stop other System Lords from carving out chunks of Ra's empire. With one System Lord in particular, Heru-ur ended up warring with over many worlds, Apophis. With Heru-ur, it's hard to say how he would have reacted. However, given what we learned about him, and the fact he would later invade a protected planet, I suspect at first he probably saw this as his chance to expand his power. However, without the power of Ra behind him, he found that while still powerful, he wasn't as powerful. I suspect his invasion of a protected planet and expulsion by the Asgard, along with his warring with Apophis, taught him that he was not his father. Next is Yu, who is similar to Bastet, in that the lore in the two RPGs is slightly different from each other. In Living Gods, Yu did support Ra, but he viewed the work as distasteful to keep the other System Lords in line. In the new RPG, it's not stated how Yu viewed the act of keeping the other System Lords in line, but his armies did help in doing this, and as a result, he was a frequent and welcome visitor to Ra's court. This RPG also establishes that Ra would allow Yu to grow his dominion larger than other System Lords. It's not stated in either book what his reaction to Ra's death was, but but my guess would be displeasure since the force keeping the others in line was gone. Suddenly he had to deal with Kronos and others invading his territory. He was able to drive them out of his dominion, but I doubt it's something he wants to deal with. So we've covered how the enemies of Ra and his allies reacted to his death. What about the Goa'uld who were enemies of the entire empire? I'm of course talking about Sokar and Anubis. Both were enemies of Ra as well as most of the other system lords. Both were banished from the empire and presumed dead by the time Ra died. Now we don't get a clear idea of what their reactions were in the show or the RPGs, but I don't think it's that hard to come to some conclusions. Since both were defeated by Ra, or an alliance that Ra was part of, they were probably very happy that he died. In fact, the Living Gods RPG lore page for Sokar even states that because the Tari had killed Ra, it left the galaxy ripe for plucking. Though I do wonder if when each chose to strike says something about their views on the matter. Sokar struck when Apophis was weak, but other powerful system lords like Yu, Kronos, and Heru-ur were still around. Meanwhile, Apophis waited until all the old guard, minus Yu, were gone, leaving relatively younger and weaker system lords. I should really do a comparison or versus video between these two. But regardless, we can assume that A, they were happy their biggest threat was gone, and B, happy of the weakness left by the power vacuum. But not every system lord, or even Goa'uld for that matter, was a super powerful one or one of the big players. What about the average system lord or Goa'uld? Keep in mind this section is mostly going to consist of Goa'uld from the RPGs, just because the show doesn't really give us a view of your average Goa'uld a lot. So let's start with two from the Living Gods RPG. First, Bel, originally an underlord of Marduk, the one Goa'uld who got stuck in a sarcophagus and ate his host as an animal. He encouraged rebellion against his master and later defected to Ra. And when Ra died, he took his forces to serve Apophis. Now while this does seem like a character trait of Bel, defecting, I feel this would have become common for those in Ra's empire. Their god was gone and others were coming in to lay claim. It makes sense that underlords or other non-system lord Goa'uld would try to seek protection from other powerful system lords. The next Goa'uld is interesting because while technically a system lord, he's also a wandering Goa'uld. His name is... I've said this before, only Kane Chronicles fans will get that joke, and I will not explain it. By the way, the only images I have of him are from the Stargate comics that were an adaptation of the book Rebellion, which follows ideas from the movie and not SG-1. If you want to know more about it, you can check it out here. And heads up, this Goa'uld does not come from the Living Gods RPG, nor the new one, but First Steps. Anyway, Ptah was a Goa'uld scientist who developed many of the Goa'uld ships. He served under Ra and was his only attachment to the other system lords. When Ra died, he just kind of dipped out. He turned his back on the other system lords and decided to wander the galaxy, observing and gathering knowledge as he went. This tactic served him well since his enemies couldn't find him. In fact, the idea of him doing this was so odd that others didn't even recognize him on the road. Definitely a unique reaction, but to be honest, I might have done this myself. Now with the newer RPG, we have two more to look at. The first is Oya. She was a system lord who built a sizable empire on the western rim of the galaxy, until she later decided to try and tangle with the Asgard. It didn't go well, and on top of a major defeat, the Asgard embargoed her territory, which raises several questions. But in relation to Ra's death, we learned she was able to keep her empire stable, and it was only Anubis' arrival that resulted in her enemies beginning to target her again. This makes me wonder if this Western Rim region was a sort of out-of-the-way area, part of the Empire, but away from a lot of the major players. Next, we have Wepwawet. I pray I said that right. Who was a system lord that would often go to war with his neighbors every few decades or so, defying Ra's will. Ra would send a fleet to put him back in his place, and since Ra's death, he's made several advances into his neighbor's territory. One last-minute addition I found was Matt, a system lord from the book The Bark of Heaven. She was one of Ra's mates, though she saw herself as Ra's one true mate. She lived for a long time and found great riches, such as raw minerals and precious jewels. But when she returned, she found that Ra was gone. She was eventually given information, faulty information, that Jack was the only one who killed Ra, so she sought revenge, though she was later killed by SG-1. And as far as I can tell, this is the only system lord who felt sadness for Ra's death and actually focused on getting revenge as opposed to trying to gain more power. Though given she viewed herself as Ra's main girl, she was probably not in the best state of mind even before he died. And finally, we have Nirti. I know this might seem like an odd place for her since she was in the show, but not much of her history is in the show. Living Gods does give her some history. She was never a big player in Goa'uld politics. She did rise through the ranks, but she was more focused on her experiments on humans and even had her title taken away when she was sneaking into others' territory to perform her experiments. When Ra died, she managed to reassert control over her lost territory, and she managed to get her title back. So for your average system lord or Goa'uld, you were mostly focused on one of two things, either gaining power or securing your own. Which, as we've seen, was kind of the average position for even the higher system lords during this time period. And I don't think anything shows this better than the two system lords left I want to look at, and I saved these two for last for a special reason. These two, as far as I can recall, are the only two whose reaction to Ra's death we see on screen, those two being Hathor and Osiris. And I'll try and show as much as I can within reason due to copyright.
Where is Ra? I need to go tell you, Ra is dead.
How?
He was killed.
This is wonderful.
Where is my brother Sitesh?
You mean Seth, he's dead.
You lie.
No, we also killed Ra, and Hathor, and, who else? Sokar.
And you've done me a great favor. I will rule without opposition.
And hopefully, as you saw, both have similar reactions. Both were in somewhat disbelief, although in Osiris' case that could have been learning that Seth was dead. But this disbelief quickly turned into joy as both recognized there was a power vacuum they could exploit. Now it is important to remember that both did have a not great relationship with Ra since Ra imprisoned both of them. However, even if they had decent relations with Ra, given the reactions of the other system lords, I don't think it's crazy to assume that they probably would have had similar reactions of, seeing the situation as exploitable. Hathor building up her own army, and Osiris allying with Anubis. Though on that note, Living Gods does say why Osiris did this. Despite believing they would rule without opposition, Osiris would find they'd been imprisoned for so long that all their former worlds were gone. And the only system lord left from when they were imprisoned was Yu, who owed them nothing. They tried to build up their resources from hidden caches, but with how little they could find, it was clear they would take a very long time to achieve the true power they sought, until Anubis came to the picture and you know the rest. Hathor had a similar try of things, though thanks to the pheromone thing she did, she was able to pull Jaffa away from other system lords. Alongside worlds that once worshipped her, she had a better time trying to reestablish her own power. And honestly, given these two reactions, along with the others laid out in the RPGs, it's no surprise the Goa'uld Empire would collapse shortly after Ra's death. Ra was keeping the others in line, and when he was gone, it was essentially a free-for-all. The powerful took advantage of the weak, and the weak tried to find a way to become more powerful, usually at the expense of others. While ultimately the Goa'uld Empire was brought down by outside factors such as the Tari, Tok'ra, Jaffa Rebellion, and the Replicators, the System Lords were the ones who allowed their empire to crumble from within, which just made it so much easier to tear those pillars down. But what do you all think? Can you think of any other reactions to the death of the Supreme System Lord I missed? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, leave a like and subscribe, follow me on my social medias, and remember...
Give me your jacket! Give me those pants!